Good news might be on the horizon for the Steelers, as both Joey Porter and Alex Highsmith could return as early as this Sunday. That's a potential boost to the defense, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, because the bigger story right now is what's happening, or better said, not happening, on offense. And it's not pretty. Calvin Austin is now expected to miss significant time with a shoulder injury, and that just deepens a problem that's been growing for a while. It's not something new. It's not something unexpected. This wide receiver room has been a concern since training camp, and all of a sudden, that WR2 hole looks more like a canyon. Now, let's stop dancing around it and call it what it is. Since the offseason, the Steelers have operated under a one-man show at wide receiver. George Pickens, and a whole lot of nothing behind him. That's not a slight against anyone personally. It's just the reality. Whether it was in Latrobe, in practice sessions, or under the bright lights of game day, it's been Pickens or bust. And now, with Austin sidelined indefinitely, the conversation shifts from, should the Steelers look for a second receiver, to how have they not already? There's this lingering question that everyone outside the facility has been asking for months. When is Omar Khan going to go out and get a real WR2? That question hasn't gone away. In fact, now it's louder than ever, and it's echoing through every discussion about this offense. Calvin Austin was never supposed to be the answer to that question. There were always doubts, fair or not, about his ability to take on that role. Whether it was his size, his durability, or his inexperience, there was always an asterisk next to his name in this conversation. And now, with him hurt again, those doubts aren't just louder, they're justified. Look at the depth chart and try to find a viable WR2. Go ahead, take your time. Scotty Miller? He's a reliable slot guy, and someone the quarterbacks clearly like, but no one's confusing him with a consistent number 2 threat. Roman Wilson? Fans are rooting for him like crazy, and sure, he's flashed potential, but let's be honest, potential doesn't win games on Sundays. He's still unproven, still raw, and until he shows something meaningful in an NFL game, he's a complete unknown. Ben Skoranek? Solid special teams contributor. Had a nice touchdown in New Jersey. But if you're counting on him to be your second wideout, you're in trouble. And not a little bit of trouble, big trouble. Here's the real issue, though, and it's one that gets buried under all the WR2 talk. The Steelers don't just need someone to play alongside Pickens. They need someone who can be George Pickens if he goes down. Because as much as we talk about needing more weapons, no one's asking the scarier question. What happens if George gets hurt? Who steps up? Who runs those routes, commands double teams, draws safety help, opens up space for the run game? There's no one on the roster right now who can come close to filling those shoes. And that's the part that should make every Steelers fan nervous. So yes, while it's fair to point out the lack of WR2, the bigger problem is the lack of depth and fit. And that's not something you can solve overnight by calling a free agent off the couch or by hoping someone suddenly figures it out. This isn't Madden. Chemistry matters. Playbook knowledge matters. And you can't afford to wait 6 weeks while a new guy catches up. But maybe, and this is where it gets interesting, maybe the solution doesn't have to come from the outside at all. Let's talk tight ends. Because while everyone was screaming about wide receivers, the Steelers quietly benched 2 of their most dynamic pass catchers in Dublin, Pat Freiermuth and Jonas Smith. Neither of them played more than 16 snaps on offense. 16. That's not a typo. They were basically spectators while the team ran a jumbo package with Spencer Anderson as a 6th offensive lineman. And Darnell Washington? He was out there for 48 of the 53 offensive snaps. That's nearly every play. And he played like a man possessed. Not only did he help shore up the left side of the line alongside his old college teammate Broderick Jones, he also chipped in with some timely catches. He looked like a real TE1, not a project, not a blocker, a legitimate threat. So now the question becomes, is this coaching staff willing to pivot? Because if they're looking for ways to compensate for the lack of depth at receiver, they might already have the answer in-house. You've got Jonas Smith, a guy who, by the way, had 55 first down catches out of 88 total receptions last year in Miami. That's not a typo either. 55 first downs. He moves chains. That's what he does. You've got Pat Freiermuth, who everyone seems to be down on for no real reason. He's still a good football player, still a tough matchup for linebackers, and still someone who can bail out a struggling quarterback. So what's the holdup? If the issue is blocking, fine. Neither Jonnu nor Pat are elite in that department, but they're not liabilities either. And Arthur Smith knows exactly what Jonnu can and can't do. He's coached him on 3 different teams. He's not bringing in a stranger. He knows what he's working with. So if the tight ends aren't blocking to the standard the coaches want, that's a coaching issue. You got to scheme around your strengths, not bench your best pass catchers just because your line can't hold up. Let's not sugarcoat it. In Ireland, the Steelers needed 6 offensive linemen to do the job of 5. That's a huge red flag. Needing 1 extra guy is bad. Needing 2 is worse. And they're lucky that one of those 2, Darnell Washington, happens to be capable of catching a pass or 2 on the side. But is that really how you want to build your offense? Is it your long-term plan? Because right now, this team is bottoming out on 3rd downs. They can't stay on the field. They can't move the sticks. And yet they've got 2 tight ends, Smith and Freiermuth, who are built for 3rd down conversions standing on the sideline. That's not a personnel problem. That's a usage problem. That's a play-calling problem. That's a coaching staff trying to fix one issue by creating 2 more. The wide receiver room needs help, no doubt. But even more urgently, this team needs to use the weapons it already has. You don't just ignore guys who can convert 3rd downs in their sleep. You don't shelve your best short yardage options because your offensive line can't hold its blocks for more than 2 seconds. If anything, that's all the more reason to get those guys on the field. Let the tight ends become your WR2. Let them help your quarterback. Let them bail you out of bad drives. And maybe, just maybe, if Darnell Washington keeps building off what he did overseas, you've got something special brewing there too. From the moment he was drafted, Darnell was seen as a project, a long-term developmental piece. But that's not what he looked like last week. He looked like a bully, like a tone setter, like a player who doesn't just fit in, he stands out. And if you're the Steelers and you're serious about turning this offense around, that's not someone you can afford to keep on the sideline. And here's where things get even more frustrating. The Steelers aren't devoid of talent. They aren't scraping the bottom of the league in skill position players. They're just not deploying them in a way that makes any sense. This isn't a team that should be struggling to convert 3rd downs, and yet it is. Over and over again, we're seeing failed drives not because the players can't make plays, but because they're not being put in positions to succeed. You have Jonnu Smith with elite short yardage numbers sitting on the sideline. You have Pat Freiermuth, one of the most consistent tight ends in the AFC when healthy, reduced to a role player. You have Roman Wilson barely seeing the field despite being one of the few guys who looks like he wants to break free and make something happen. And instead of adjusting, instead of building around those guys, the coaches are drawing up offensive packages that rely on heavy formations and linemen playing tight end. That's not just conservative football. That's regressive football. Part of that is Arthur Smith's philosophy, and it's not a secret. He likes a physical offense. He likes to run. He likes tight ends who block like tackles. That's fine when you have a dominant offensive line. But let's be real. This line is not that. In fact, it's the opposite. It's still developing. It needs help, yes. But when you overcorrect by sitting down 2 of your best receiving tight ends just to get a 6th lineman on the field, you're essentially saying we don't trust our line to survive in a normal offensive set. That's a massive statement, and it tells you everything you need to know about where this offense is mentally right now. They're scared. Scared of losing the pocket, scared of sacks, scared of turnovers, scared of exposing the quarterback. And when fear runs your offense, you end up with exactly what the Steelers have right now, a unit that plays not to lose rather than playing to win. That's why the 3rd down conversions are brutal. That's why they can't stretch the field. That's why there's no rhythm, no identity, no flow. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, you've got a defense that is doing everything it can to hold up its end of the bargain. And they've done that even without key contributors. The possible return of Joey Porter and Alex Highsmith could be huge this Sunday. That would inject even more juice into a defense that, frankly, is the only reason this team hasn't completely collapsed. But even that has a shelf life. No defense can carry a team forever, especially in the modern NFL. Eventually, the offense has to pull its weight. Eventually, someone has to step up and move the ball. And that brings us right back to the core issue. How are the Steelers using what they have? Because this isn't just about waiting on Omar Khan to bring in reinforcements. That might happen, sure. But what if it doesn't? What if they roll into the next few games with the same roster? What then? Are they just going to keep running the same jumbo sets and hope Pickens bails them out with miracle catches down the sideline? That's not sustainable. That's not strategy. That's desperation. And it's going to catch up to them. There's a smarter way to go about this, and it starts with trusting the guys already in the building. You've got two tight ends who are proven weapons in the pass game. Use them. Stop treating them like insurance policies and start treating them like actual threats. You've got a quarterback, whether it's the starter or the backup, who clearly has more confidence throwing to Scotty Miller than just about anyone else. Then fine, use Miller in the slot. Lean into what he does well. He's not going to take the top off a defense, but he can give you 6, 7-yard gains, keep the chains moving, and help you survive long enough for something deeper to develop. And you've got to give Roman Wilson a real shot. Enough with the excuses. He's fast, he's got good hands, and he's hungry. No one is asking him to be the next Antonio Brown, but he deserves more than a few token snaps. Let him make mistakes. Let him learn on the job. Because the guys ahead of him, they're not exactly locking down those reps with elite production. If anything, Wilson's ceiling is higher than anyone outside of Pickens in that room. And that's exactly why it's so baffling that the team hasn't figured out how to use him. It's not a matter of can this offense improve? Of course it can. It just takes intentional change. Scheme around your strengths. Stop pretending you can play smash-mouth football when your line needs help just to survive against base fronts. Stop acting like you need a WR2 savior when a better answer might be adjusting your approach entirely. Bring in more 12 personnel. Use your tight ends like wide receivers. Move the pocket. Create mismatches. Make defenses think. That's what successful coordinators do. They adapt. And if you're looking for positives, and Steelers fans should always be looking for hope somewhere, Darnell Washington is it. What he did in Ireland wasn't just solid, it was special. He looked like a difference maker. A guy who changes the math on every play. He blocks like a tackle, moves like a tight end, and catches like a wide out. That's rare. That's valuable. And more importantly, that's exactly what this team needs, a mismatch problem. Someone who can't be defended with a single linebacker or safety. Someone who forces teams to pick their poison. If he keeps growing into that role, it's going to open things up for everyone else. But again, it only works if the coaches let it work. If they trust the vision. If they stop being afraid to use what they have and start getting creative. This is not a lost cause. Far from it. The talent is there. The defense is holding strong. The tight ends are waiting. The WR2 dilemma is real, yes, but it doesn't have to be fatal. What's fatal is standing still, waiting for a miracle trade, or hoping someone just wakes up and starts dominating. That's not how football works. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Breaking news is shaking the NFL world. Odell Beckham Jr., one of the most electrifying wide receivers of the past decade, is reportedly heading to Pittsburgh. Sources close to the team say the deal is done, and the Steelers have officially signed the star playmaker. While neither the player nor the franchise has released an official statement yet, the buzz is deafening, and fans are already imagining what this could mean for the Steel City. Beckham, known for his gravity-defying catches and game-changing speed, has a history of lighting up stadiums wherever he goes. His journey has taken him from New York to Cleveland, Los Angeles, and beyond, but Pittsburgh might just be the perfect storm for his talents. The Steelers, historically a team built on grit, defense, and a blue-collar identity, could now inject a jolt of offensive flair that the city hasn't seen in years. Rumors suggest the front office is banking on Beckham to not only stretch the field, but also mentor younger receivers and become a household name in the region almost instantly. The timing of the signing is intriguing. Pittsburgh has been searching for a deep threat who can command attention and open up the field for the running game and tight ends. Beckham, with his flair for dramatic, highlight reel plays, might be exactly what the Steelers need to shake things up in a division dominated by tough, physical teams. Insiders whisper that training camp could feel like a circus in the best possible way, with fans flocking to see Beckham in black and gold for the first time. Of course, questions linger. Can he stay healthy and consistently deliver at the level that made him a household name? Will his presence disrupt team chemistry, or will it elevate a Steelers offense that has often been criticized for stagnation? Despite the uncertainties, excitement is palpable. Social media is already buzzing with mock highlights, jersey sales predictions, and debates about who will throw him the first touchdown pass. If this rumor proves true, Pittsburgh might just have the offseason shakeup that fans have been craving. One thing is certain, wherever Odell Beckham Jr. goes, the spotlight follows. And if the Steelers have indeed secured his signature, prepare for a season of jaw-dropping catches, late-game heroics, and a city buzzing with anticipation. Could Pittsburgh finally witness a show only Odell can deliver? The NFL world is watching and waiting. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.